I got a call on the radio from my foreman, and it was kind of garbled. I guess he may have had a bad radio that day, but it was garbled. All I heard was, somebody can barely walk.
I'm actually partial to summer. I like the heat under normal circumstances.
When you're working in the heat and you're working hard in the heat, you just lose so much fluid, and you literally cannot replace it fast enough.
We came back after lunch, started working on the embeds.
Guys tend to get focused on the task, doing their job, and they really don't drink enough fluids.
I played 3 sports through high school, and I played 4 years of college baseball.
It was a hot day, probably mid-90s, upper 90s.
Maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock. I got a light cramp in my back.
Caution them every day in the JSA and in the safety meetings.
Didn't think anything about it because I was tied off behind me, leaning over into the wall, trying to work.
Drink plenty of fluids, take frequent breaks, get yourself some rest.
I decided that I was fine. I was still sweating.
If you get overheated, go sit down in the shade for a few minutes and constantly drink fluids. We were doing a wall pour that day. We had some gang walls in the basement. Josh was up on the wall putting in taper ties, and he said his back started to cramp up.
No nausea, didn't feel dizzy, didn't have a headache.
So he came down off the wall and walked into the trailer. I told him, well, we're almost done with the wall. We're ready to pour. Why don't you go sit down in the conference room and cool off?
Chris told me to take a break, so I went to my truck, got a Gatorade, sat down for about 15 minutes.
I didn't really specify what I was thinking, which was, hey, we're close to being finished. The guys can make it without you. Why don't you go sit down, cool off, and you're done for the day.
About the time we got done and my back cramped up again, I took maybe one more step and everything below my waist locked up.
So I, ran out of the trailer, and when I got outside the door, I saw Josh being supported by my foreman and my crane operator. He was so cramping up so bad he couldn't even sit.
I've seen a lot of heat exhaustion through either sports, not necessarily work, just 2-a-days and things like that. And the symptoms are always the same: just headache, dizziness, nausea, and things like that. Or I guess the most severe would be a lack of sweat.
The end result was Tyler put him in the car and drove him to Opelika to the emergency room.
I always thought that I was fine because I took better care of myself.
Because it had gotten to the point where his kidneys were almost on the edge of shutting down.
I felt functional until I wasn't. I talked to just about everybody, everybody on the crew about what happened.
He didn't want to let his team down. He knew they needed him out there, so he sat in that trailer for about 5 minutes and drank some water and drank some Gatorade, and he went back out there to help the guys get the pour done.
You know what tools you're going to need. You can eliminate a lot of the weight.
We had a recordable incident on our hands.
You don't have to carry, 20 pounds of nails and every tool that you own.
In the heat, you've got to listen to your body. If you're starting to cramp up, if you're starting to get dizzy, lightheaded, your body's telling you that you're doing a little too much, and you got to just listen to your body and do what it's telling you to do.